So, Joseph, thank you so much for agreeing to chat with me today. I'm actually really kind of curious.
Plan.
It would strike me, first of all, I think the freemium version, what you've already described, is actually a pretty compelling model. And the fact that you do have the number of downloads that you have and the number of people who are buying the hypnosis sessions is pretty powerful already. So I don't want to discourage you from that. That's fantastic. The thing is, you are doing something which potentially can appeal to a huge number of people. Have you played with pricing?
Not too much in terms of putting the price up and down. I've done the unlock all. I've done specials and discounts on that depending on the time of the year sometimes, but I haven't really adjusted the prices of the generic and the custom.
There's a lot of analogs for what you're trying to do, but for example, there's a masterclass. You're familiar with masterclass?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Which of course is pre-recorded videos, instructional videos, and originally they were pricing that a la carte, and we're having a very, very tough time with it. And only when they changed their model to being a reasonably priced annual subscription, which then became all you can eat, did it totally unlock them.
Mm-hmm.
And part of this lends itself to being a subscription service. But how much did you say you do have a subscription program too? Is that what you said? Or did I miss that?
No, I do not. No. I'd like to implement a yearly subscription in the next update after this one coming out.
Because there's certainly ways you can try that. So the thing I'd encourage you to do is do some experimentation. You have enough velocity. You have enough people coming in who are downloading the app, enough people who are coming and visiting the app who already have downloaded it, that you can segment off small pieces of them and do lots of testing to try and understand how elastic is this? Mm-hmm. What happens? And now that you have a library of 200 hypnosis sessions, that will keep somebody busy for a long time. Mm-hmm. In terms of running through all the areas of their life that you can help them with, especially if you begin saying we release a new one every X.
Sure.
Or if you say you begin bringing in additional people, like almost the same way Calm does, where you have guest hypnotherapists who come in and do some with different approaches to it or things like that. But in other words, the point is shifting it from this thinking of I have to monetize each of my sessions individually to this model where you're saying people are going to gain access to my work as a whole. Mm-hmm. And do so on a subscription basis. And I had this conversation briefly with somebody else, but there's some pros and cons of doing the annual versus the monthly. Because the annual, of course, is great because of the cash flow component of it. But the monthly is nice because it gives you this quick read on what's happening. You have to fight to keep people, which is a really good discipline to make sure they're establishing value. But even if you said, I'm going to try something, I'm going to sign up 100 people and then close it off, or 200 people and then close it off, at which they get an unlimited access subscription. Mm-hmm. They can download and listen to all the tapes they want to. Maybe it's not part of your custom pieces. Maybe it is. This is a part I don't really understand how to make that work. But play with some pricing. See what the elasticity is. See what happens when you do it at $9.95 a month, at $4.95 a month. At different prices, and see what happens. You can play with throttling. You can say, this is not unlimited. This allows you to download or listen to it up to X per month. But the discipline and the courage it will take is viewing your content as, this is priceless. I can't let someone do that. Mm-hmm. Because if you say, I'd like to be where Calm is, my gut is it's not going to come from just increasing the number of people who buy this at X dollars per pop. It's going to come from breaking the model, at dramatically changing the formula the customer's using in assessing how many of these do I want. There's also a customer dynamic going on where someone's making this decision that it's worth going through all of the overhead of engaging with you. I've got to download the app. I've got to put in my credit card. I've got to order it. And then they get their tape. And that's a one, and you earned, I'm sorry, was it like $295 for that, $395?
$3.99, but then Apple takes their cut too.
Great. In other words, they went through all that, and you had to get them through that, and you had to get them to the site, and you made $4. And maybe they downloaded 2 of them, 8 of them. So the question I'd ask you, and you don't need to answer this now, but you should absolutely be able to rattle this off, is then what's the repeat? So for everyone who took one, how many came back and took another? And that fall off is probably pretty severe because, yes, some people, a small fraction of them, run through a huge amount of them, and you go, wow, this person was worth $50 to me, or $500, $200 to me. But most of the people came in and did their first order, and they were one and done. So think about a subscription. The overhead is almost identical. They still have to get it. You still have to get them to the site. You still have to get them through the sign-up process. You have them to take the most incredible act of faith, which is give you their credit card. But now you have them until they take the specific act of stopping.
Got it.
Which is a much higher load, which is why subscription businesses are so popular, which is why even the software industry is now going to SaaS.
Absolutely.
It's not just the economics, which are incredibly compelling. It's the fact that the customer dynamic is so strong. And the last thing, as you're thinking about someone like Com, who's valued the way they are, they're valued because it's recurring revenue. You have a certain lifetime value for a customer now, which is probably pretty low because you're saying, well, half the people take one, a third of them take 2. You have this curve, and the average value is X, $15, $19. And so you're always going to have this low lifetime value of a customer relative to what it costs to get you there. And right now you've figured out a way to get them there for free. But the way to explode this is, of course, to have a little bit of powder that you can use to prime this. And when you have a subscription business, your lifetime values are dramatically high. Because even if you did something as dramatic as, say, I'm going to charge $6.99 a month, or $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month, and you can get someone to stick around for 6 months, the lifetime value of that customer is dramatically higher than it was when you were in the a la carte business. And this is, again, the caveat being that I don't know shit about your actual metrics, that you in fact could blow me away and go, no, 98% of them get 60 of these things and 2 of them don't. It could be dramatically better than I think. But the thing I do know is, unless there's something dramatically exceptional about your business, a subscription model is going to be very powerful. And that will give you the confidence to drop the price down, to find that place where it's the most velocity relative to what happens.
I got it, and that's really, really cool because based on what Apple says, I don't know about because I got Android app as well, do the same thing, but average sell for a paying user is $9 at the moment. So with a recurring monthly, quarterly, yearly, that should, unless you're going to drop off after 1 month, but
you can blow it away.
Yeah.
And listen, in the event you ever get to the point you want to raise money,
that would be a next question.
Raising money is going to comes from the ability to have some sort of accurate way to predict future revenue. And your formula is an interesting one because it goes, the revenue comes after I get them to download the app, and it's X, and it comes in over most of it happens in the first 10 days, and then it falls off. There's a curve, and if I was sitting down with you here, we had a whiteboard, we could work out what the curve looks like based on what you're telling me. But then someone who's evaluating your business goes, okay, they're making X per order. How do they get orders? How many orders can they get? So if you go, I want to be at 30 million or 300 million, you just got to, the number of subscribers, number of customers you got to bring in is astronomical. Whereas when you're a subscription business, then they're looking at this recurring revenue number. it's your average monthly, not revenue rather, and it's a fantastic number. It just keeps going up and up and up. And the beautiful thing is, if you stop promoting, it more or less stays there.
Sure.
And that's why it's so powerful. And it's a confidence builder for someone who is investing in you to have these very nice, predictable metrics that say, here's what it looks like when I acquire someone. And there's a lot of revenue that goes on for months at a time that allows me to very accurately predict what next quarter and the quarter after that are going to look like. And I can choose to goose it or not based on how many people I push into the front end. Anyway, let's change subject slightly. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you experiment with it.
Sure. That
you're going to have a limited number of people who are doing these things. And then rather than you wondering, like, wonder what would happen. I wonder if Marc was right. I wonder if the dynamics are better. I wonder how long they stick around. I wonder how many of these things they take. Or you have these fears. What's going to happen to my content? It's all out there. I'm going to lose it, whatever. Here I go. So confront your fear. Experiment. Face it head on. No, I'm sorry. But literally go out and try it, and you'll know what happens. And if it really is disastrous, then for God's sake, stop it and back off and apologize to 100 people that you have to discontinue the program, and you're done. But more likely you'll go, oh, this is intriguing. I wonder what would happen now if I lower the price, raise the price, do it quarterly, do it annual. I wonder what would happen if I said the subscription applies to these X and you pay more for this, or I have a 2-tier subscription. I mean, it's bottomless, the experimentation you can do, but that only happens when you start with the experimentation. But actually, this wasn't even the new subject. I sucked myself back into the old subject. The new subject is addressing briefly about the PR, and then I'll shut up a minute and you can talk about other things you may want to talk about. But you have an incredibly good business that lends itself to public relations driven programs. And are you doing a lot? Do you appear a lot on television, radio, etc.?
Not as much. I have done. I've been on when I live in California now, but I used to be in England, and been on TV there on the primetime channels. I've worked with some celebrities. I've got a best-selling book by Hay House, which is a pretty big publisher.
The reason I mention it is it's by far the most powerful marketing medium there is in terms of its cost efficiency. And some people come on with these businesses which do not lend themselves to this at all. I have an application which dramatically decreases the cost of package transportation. You have a hard time even keeping your eyes open for the one-on-one conversation. But some people have businesses, and I'll put yours in that category, which have tremendous popular interest if you position them in the right way. And you presenting yourself, or you presenting your business, but I think you could probably pull this off as this thought leader in a particular space and begin building the effort of being the go-to guy whenever any piece of medium wants comment or wants interesting thing. And it takes a while to build that up, but the reach you can get that way is astronomical, especially when you can tell people, listen, I'm going to come on, we're going to work with someone on the air, or I'll comment about anytime there's an article about anxiety, or anytime there's an article about PTSD, or there's an article about anything, call me, put me on the air. I'll quote, I'll do whatever. And it's pretty quick and easy to get yourself into that position, and very powerful. And you're clearly articulate and comfortable being in this situation. And you just master that technique of getting in the place you can come for what the subscription price is and where you can get access to this, and et cetera.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, so have I rambled in the right direction? Anyway?
Perfect. No, I love the subscription stuff. It's something I'd had in my mind, but for you running through like potential numbers, and obviously things like churn rate is different based on individual purchases over a subscription 3-month churn rate or whatever it would be, and also to then potentially get investors because they'll be able to see the churn rate or the drop off rate or the lifetime value.
Yeah, it's just it's that whole. I mean, I call it. This would be HaaS, hypnosis as a service, as opposed to SaaS.
Yeah.
But it's just a very, it's a wonderfully predictable, metrics driven business. And I think hearing what I'm hearing about how you're currently positioning this could be really, really powerful.
Thank you.
Especially if you have people coming in now and saying, I'm paying $3.99 for one. If you said, listen, $3.99 for $4.99 a month, listen all you want. Hard to imagine somebody would jump for that. And then the question is, which one is more long-term valuable? Not per hypnosis tape, but per customer, because that's the important thing. It costs you nothing whether they listen to 60 or whether they listen to 3. So don't start fretting about, doesn't this person only paid $15 to listen to 60. Well, they were only going to give you $9 anyway.
Sure.
So you've come out way ahead. Anyway, you got the idea.
Yeah.
I don't want to beat on this more, but
No, I love it. Thank you.
experiment. Don't
Yeah.
don't change your entire business, but you're lucky in another regard, which is that you have customer flow that allows you to trial things. And the other one is that you can also, I don't know whether you actually have an opportunity, whether people interact with you in a way that you can respond, whether you get texts or emails but you can also, when someone comes in through one of those channels, is ask them, what would you think? What would you say if right now, what would you do if I said you could X? I mean, the best way to find out is having them actually do it, but certainly asking them is a powerful thing as well.
Got it. Thank you ever so much. Appreciate it.
So before I let you go, anything else that you would like to dig into?
Yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time.
Sure,
I was just
okay.
thinking, like, obviously, you having been invested in many companies and grown, obviously, huge companies. For someone like me, when I get to, say, implement a subscription, show the lifetime value and predictability more so, what would you feel like the next step is finding someone who would support my mission and want to make the world a better place, whilst obviously be abundant at the same time?
Supporting you economically, you mean?
Yes, like investing
Yep.
yeah.
So the first thing is raising money is a be careful what you wish for proposition. Because I like how you said, find someone who wants to change the world and maybe get a return for it. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
Most of the people who invest in the company, and certainly any professional investor, by which I mean a venture capitalist, even one who does seed round or early stage investing, they give you the money. Wonderful. But the little secret is they want that money back.
Absolutely.
Times 10, thank you, and 100 if possible. So once you've taken that money, you have a responsibility to them that this is no longer just about making people be their best self. It's making people be their best self and providing an adequate return to the person who believed this was an investable business. And it will push you to do things which you have to decide in advance you want. It pushes growth. It pushes profitability. And it can go in unintended directions. It could be that you are not the right person to deliver growth. And you have to acknowledge the fact that I have to separate these things and recognize that I may not be the right person to deliver the growth that I committed to in terms of taking in when I took investment dollars. But all those things saying it's a very, very powerful way to grow using other people's money. And especially when you finally crack the code, Do the experimentation that we're talking about on your own dime.
Mm-hmm.
But once you've realized that you find, wow, I have a little machine, and when I pour $100 into this little bucket here and turn the crank, 150 comes out the other side. Wow, let's try putting in $1,000. Wow, 1,500 comes out. Once you've built that machine and demonstrated you can do that, there's a tremendous temptation and a tremendously compelling argument for getting someone to back their dump truck up and pour money into the chute. And what that will get you is scale.
Yep.
It will allow you to make the investments in the next generation vision you have for this project. And it potentially could lead to a different lifestyle for yourself. But it does not come without risks.
Absolutely.
And here's the specific, that was more the cautionary tale. But the specific advice is get people into your corner now. Do not go to them and say, I am raising money. Do not put together a pitch deck or a business plan. Find 2 or 3 people who you've heard about and think might be interested in this category and say, I'd love to just sit down and tell you what I'm doing and get some advice. I'm not looking for money. And get people involved at the beginning as friends. And they will help you steer in the direction that is most investable. Then you can ask them questions because they know the business. I'm trying to understand, well, how will they think about it when I have a lifetime value of this, or my CAC, my cost to acquire customer, or my ratio between lifetime value and CAC. Which of those is important to investor in this business? And you'll have someone that's friendly. And then ultimately, of course, when you are ready, they'll be the first 2 or 3 people you go to because they already know you. They already know the business. They've already seen how seriously you take it. But that would be the first step that I would take if I was thinking that in the future, raising money to accelerate my dreams was part of the plan.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. I love that idea of just getting that connection and support from people without wanting anything in return other than obviously advice and sharing of ideas.
People do it. It's the nature of that business is you have to establish many connections in the hope that one will eventually lead to an investment. So it's thing they are always willing to do is meet interesting entrepreneurs early in their journey. And you can take advantage of that and get their advice as long as you recognize their advice is going to be motivated by the economics behind it. But
Definitely.
that's what you're looking for. Well, listen, really good luck. I really encourage you to try some stuff, try some crazy stuff, try stuff that even you're thinking this is never going to work because, you never know. And sometimes, it actually does work.